Well, many of us are wondering how we would actually cope if we were forced to self-isolate for a period of months. I seem to have bought myself a PlayStation over the last couple of days in preparation. So let's find out what it's actually really like. The SNP's Lisa Cameron has been self-isolating with symptoms of the virus. So she joins us from her home. First of all, thank you so much for being on the programme. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm still feeling really very tired. Sort of exhaustion has been the largest symptom for me. I've got a dry cough, not a phlegmy cough that you would normally have with a cold. So it's a sort of irritable cough. I've got aches and pains round my back, mainly in my shoulders. Sleeping a lot, and I've had swollen glands over the past few days as well, but that's sort of dissipating a bit now.
Given all that, we do
Yeah.
appreciate you talking to us, certainly, and hope you feel a lot better soon. There's no testing for people in your situation, is that right?
Well, that changed last week. I mean, I was on the phone to 111 a number of times as symptoms developed, and at first I was told that my symptoms weren't concerning, just to carry on as usual. Then on Thursday night, when I called again with my cough had developed at that point in time, the doctor that I spoke to at that point referred me for testing. So I was expecting to have a test. Then the next day I had a call from the NHS in the afternoon, and they said that the strategy had sort of changed and that there was no testing after that day, so I wasn't going to be referred for a test. So I suppose on the one hand you do want to have a test, you want to know a diagnosis, but on the other I think perhaps it may be that they have to keep the test for people who are much more vulnerable, so you don't want to take a test from someone else who's, you know, much more critical than yourself.
It's definitely that balance, as you say, I think, isn't it, to try and relieve the pressure, but also make sure you feel supported. I mean, do you feel that you've had the support that you need from the service?
I think the service has been absolutely inundated. I know when I called back on Thursday evening, I waited about 3 hours for a response, but it was because they were totally inundated. So I think the service is probably at capacity, and people are working absolutely round the clock. So I can't fault that at all. They're doing an amazing job in this situation. I think it's difficult because the strategy and the messaging appears to have sort of changed for people who have the symptoms from, you know, at first it was a sort of keep calm, carry on. There wasn't, you know, anything to worry about, just go on as normal. And then as things progressed and actually as my cough developed, then that was totally different on the Thursday evenings, which is understandable as symptoms develop, but you feel a bit in the dark with it. You don't know how long to expect the symptoms for. I've not had anything since being called on the Friday to say that I shouldn't be getting testing anymore. At that point I was told that my husband and children could carry on as normal, but we sort of just decided ourselves that they would self-isolate as well because of, you know, the public interaction. We didn't want to be putting people at risk, and we weren't really sure of how infectious it is and whether or not I had already passed it on to them. So we didn't want to take that risk with other people's health.
I'm interested to know a little bit about the reality of being self-isolated. I mean, you just mentioned that your children have been self-isolated too. I think it's, for many parents, that's something that they would be worried about. How would that work practically? Is it boring? Are you watching loads of box sets? Are you, learning a new language? What are you doing?
It's really difficult. I've been trying to, as much as possible, stay in a different room from them. Occasionally they'll burst into the room, and I have to remind them, no, you can't come in here. It's really difficult. You want to hug your children, you want to be with them, but for their safety and their health, then you're pretty much keeping away from them. I've been told to use a different bathroom where possible. We're lucky I've got a downstairs bathroom. I can do that. Other families wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. my husband's basically being mum and dad just now, and just trying to make sure that we keep separate. So it's very difficult. I'm speaking to Alexa a lot now in my room on my own.
I love that. Everyone should talking to Alexa. I can totally see that as a way of trying to keep up the interaction. And then just finally, we've seen lots of stories about people struggling to get hold of essential items at supermarkets, delays to deliveries and so on. Is that something that concerns you as someone who actually is in self-isolation?
Yeah, I've made an order to the supermarket, but there's, I mean, I think they're absolutely inundated as well. So that doesn't come until Wednesday. And there's special precautions that you had to put on it to let obviously the driver and the delivery staff know your predicament. So we've done all of that, but we've got a very good neighbour who's left some things, milk and actually a bunch of flowers as well, and some sort of daily things on the doorstep each day. So much gratitude to them.
That's very
But you
nice.
know, it's really nice and thoughtful, because I think the supermarkets, I don't know, I think it's gone from a let's be calm and carry on to there's a bit of panic now and people are really concerned. So I think supermarkets are being very inundated. You can't get a delivery for a number of days is what I've found. I'm more concerned for, you know, elderly people who might be on their own. How would they get supplies, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think for people who don't have any symptoms, who don't have the virus, if older adults are isolating, then maybe we have to be thinking about do they need some help at this point too, and being much more community and neighbourly focused.
Yeah, definitely
Obviously,
good. A bit of advice.
yeah, but I hope to be back soon, within the next couple of weeks anyway, and get back to normal and to be able to help people. I mean, that's the thing with the test. I would say if you had the test, you would know whether you'd had it and the period was finished. I could go back to work and then symptoms develop again, and I think, well, I've had this. You
Yeah.
know, so it's a bit confusing. You're not quite sure, but I think you just have to take it a day at a time and see it through and just check
Okay.
and get it every stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the programme, especially when you're not feeling well. I hope you feel better very soon, and good luck keeping the kids at bay as well. Thank you.